Hello? Yeah. We are live in 1 minute, please. Someone please let me close the door. Good morning, the Chairman Presidential Communications Team and members of the team. Good morning, Executive Secretary, Pensions, Transitional Arrangement Directorate, PTAD, Dr. Chioma Ejikeme. Today, you're welcome to our briefing, which comes up on Thursday and deals with issues affecting governance in Nigeria. You will all agree with me that the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration has made outstanding feats, especially in the area of pension service delivery. PTAD, which is an agency of government established in 2013, has been at the forefront of implementing exceptional pension services, and this can be seen in the nationwide verification exercise which the organization undertook as far back as year 2020. Furthermore, recent reports have shown that PTAD, whose mission is delivering innovative, efficient, and sustainable pension services, has recorded successes that are of note and is poised to relieve inconveniences experienced by pensioners in the name of verification by rolling out the I Am Alive confirmation for pensioners program nationwide. She will come and talk more about them later. In the next few minutes, the Executive Secretary of PTAD, Dr. Chioma Ejikeme, will update the press and the general public. When I say general public, we have stakeholders watching us online now, and they'll be sending in questions as Madam updates us. She will come to speak on the major challenges and milestones enjoyed by the Directorate and the role the Directorate is playing in complementing the administration of Muhammadu Buhari towards achieving excellence in pension service delivery. On this note, I would like to invite the Executive Secretary to come to this podium and speak to us for about 20-25 minutes, after which he will take questions from our members of the press here and those that will send questions online. On this note, I would like to invite the ES, so please come in and do justice to pensions.
the chairman, presidential communication team, management staff of PTAD here present. I have the Director of Civil Service Pension Department, Mr. Suleiman Shelling, the Director of Customs, Immigration and Prisons Department, Mr. Abdallah, Director of Pensioner Support Services Department, Mrs. Neka Obiamalu, and some other members of the team. Other members of the Presidential Communication team, gentlemen of the press, good morning. We are very happy to be here this morning to talk to you about what the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate has been up to in the last 9 years of its inception. My name is Dr. Chioma Ejikeme, and I'm the Executive Secretary of the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate. To talk about pensions today, I would like to take us through some kind of historical perspective as to what pension is actually all about, to refresh our memory, to let us know where we're coming from, where we are, and where we intend to go. Pension is loosely defined as the totality of plans, procedures, and legal processes of securing and setting aside funds to meet the social obligation of care which employers owe their employees on retirement or disability or their dependents in the case of death. We all know that pension is a product of modern employment. In the pre-colonial era, the extended family system was the pension system that we had. The very first legislation on pension in Nigeria was in 1951. It took retroactive effect on the 1st of January 1946, and it was meant to take care of the British colonial masters. And it was extended to Nigerians just as a privilege. The first major public reform of pensions in Nigeria took place between 1972 and 1974 with the Public Service Review, popularly known as the Udoji Commission. Between 1979 and 1991, the new pension scheme that was promulgated by the Pensions Act of 1979 was in force until the passage of the Pension Reform Act in 2004. Next slide. Now, the pension scheme we had, the old pension scheme, was plagued with a lot of challenges. Allegations of ghost beneficiaries, poor funding of liabilities, misappropriation of pension funds, manual processing of pensions leading to errors of omission, juxtaposition, and ultimately inaccurate records. Mismanagement of pension funds held with commercial banks by the old pension offices, leading to irregular and non-payment of monthly pension. Payments were mostly made by cash over the table, as banks were unable to process transactions in bulk. There were bottlenecks in accessing pension services as cartels determined whose pension was to be paid, increased in return for payment or favors. There was an absence of complaints resolution systems, which left the pensioners in limbo and frustrated. This hugely damaged government's reputation, as news media carried on several stories about maltreatment of pensioners and general malfeasance, with the result that pension has a very bad reputation in Nigeria. We cannot forget poor funding due to dwindling national resources. That was also a key factor in the challenges that were had with the old pension scheme. We also had inhuman treatment of pensioners. There were reports of pensioners sleeping under staircases and on floors in pension offices and queuing under the sun for long hours to be verified without shade, seats, water, or conveniences. Pension arrears and benefits owed to pensioners and the next of kin of dead pensioners had run into billions of naira with no hope of remediation. There was a lack of training, capacity building, and poor remuneration of pension office staff, leading to low morale, poor service delivery, and fraud perpetration. This added to the negative perception of pension office staff by the public. Now, the birth of pension reforms. Against the backdrop of the challenges that plagued Okay. Against the backdrop of the challenges that plagued the Nigeria's pension industry, the Pension Reform Act of 2004 was enacted, introducing the contributory pension scheme and establishing the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate to take care of the old defined benefit scheme and pensioners who would not transit to the contributory pension scheme. There was a public outcry and protest by pensioners and pension unions seeking succor from the government for their wasted service years, and this became widespread. There were publicized public hearings and criminal proceedings against suspected pension managers, which were commenced without positive outcomes for the pensioners. The Pension Reform Act 2004 was repealed and reenacted as the Pension Reform Act 2014, with Section 42(1) establishing the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate to carry out the functions of the old pension offices. That is the Police Pension Office, the Customs, Immigrations, and Prisons Pension Office, the Civil Service Pension Office, and the Treasury-funded parastatals. The Pension Reform Act of 2014 provided for the rights of pensioners as enshrined in the 1999 Constitution as amended, which made pension a right, and that pension and gratuity for public servants should be regulated by law, should not be withheld or altered to the disadvantage of the pensioner. That particular section also stated that pensions should be reviewed every 5 years or at any time. There's a salary review in the public service, and also pensions are not meant to be taxed by virtue of the Constitution. Now, the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, who we are. We were established by the Pension Reform Act of 2004, which was repealed and reenacted as Pension Reform Act 2014. PTAD was established in August of 2013 to consolidate and manage the pensions under the defined benefit scheme of pensioners who retired on or before 30th of June 2007 and did not transit to the contributory pension scheme. The mandate of the Directorate includes to make budgetary estimates for existing pensioners, to prepare and submit monthly payroll of pensioners to the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation for direct payment from the budgetary allocation maintained with the CBN to pensioners' bank accounts, to issue payment instructions to the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation, to maintain a comprehensive database of pensioners under their respective jurisdictions, to ascertain deficits in pension payments, if any, to existing pensioners, to render monthly returns to the Commission on existing staff, pensioners, deceased pensioners, and on any other details. And most importantly, to improve the welfare of the pensioners. PTAD has 4 major operational departments derived from the old pension offices: the civil service pensions, who are civil servants, people who retired from the federal civil service; the police pensions, people who retired from the police; the customs, immigrations, and prisons pensions, people who retired from the customs, immigrations, and what we now call correctional services. But as an innovation, PTAD has the Pensioner Support Services Department, which is a new thing in pension management. And most importantly, PTAD has an information technology department, because the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate prides itself with the innovation of using technology to manage pensions. We also have Finance and Accounts Department and other units which support the Directorate. To bring pension administration to the doorstep of our pensioners, and also to satisfy the conditions of the Pension Reform Act 2014, PTAD has state offices where we try to be nearer to our pensioners. And our offices are located in the 6 geopolitical zones: Awka, Benin, Damaturu, Enugu, Ibadan, Kaduna, Kano, Lagos, Maiduguri, Sokoto, and Yola, where we have our state offices. Now, what happened in the past? In the past, with the old pension scheme, before PTAD, we had these past strenuous verification exercises. Verification was held in one or very few centers, making the process long and tedious. Pensioners suffered from the stress of large crowds, queuing for long hours, and collapsing due to dehydration, stress, and were disgruntled. There were no conducive facilities, no canopies provided, no chairs, no refreshment, no conveniences. But most importantly, no database was created after such strenuous exercises. And gentlemen of the press, I want to draw your attention to these photographs. Look at them very well. Pensioners sitting on the floor, struggling for a verification exercise. These are the photographs that gentlemen of the press put up when they want to describe PTAD. This is not PTAD. This is what happened in the past. And this is the old order. It might relate to pensioners at the state level, but not pensioners managed by the federal government, by the Pension Transitional Arrangements Directorate. So please, I hope that going forward you'll take that correction. Thank you very much. Now, what are we doing in PTAD? For the past 9 years, PTAD has strategically and intentionally reformed and revolutionized pension administration using technology. And we have intentionally been changing the narrative as far as pension administration is concerned in Nigeria. And how have we been able to achieve this? We've been able to achieve this by virtue of biometric verification of pensioners through field verification exercises across the 6 geopolitical zones, which took place between 2015 and 2019. We actually had the last verification exercise in November of 2019 with the Paraceto Pension Department. As a result of the verification exercise, we've been able to build from the scratch, this is the first of its kind, a digitized, centralized, comprehensive, and credible database of pensioners with their pension records under the defined benefit scheme in Nigeria. We have also introduced an automated computation, that is calculation of pension benefits. We also have been able to do due diligence on our payroll and payments using an integrated automated system. Payments are automated using the Government Integrated Financial Management Information System, GIFMIS, to preserve the sanctity of pension funds. We also have created a complaints resolution and management portal to support the client service management system. This was never in existence. Pensioners didn't have a voice. They had nobody to talk to. They had nobody to discuss their problems and their issues with. PTAD prides itself with having a bunch of committed, dedicated, professional and highly motivated staff, and a work culture which has been driving this reform that PTAD has been carrying out. PTAD also has an anti-corruption and transparency unit to prevent pension fraud. PTAD has also launched a service charter detailing PTAD's service contract with pensioners with complaint resolution timelines. We carry out a lot of due diligence during the onboarding and payrolling of pensioners. And very, very lately, we have introduced the I'm Alive confirmation solution to verify pensioner status of aliveness at regular intervals. I'm going to talk about that much later. Now, let's look at the PTAD mode of verification. Gentlemen of the press, please take a photograph of what I'm showing you now. This is the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate. We provided verification centers per geopolitical zone to ensure crowd control. We created a 4 simple step process from arrival to completion of verification to minimize wait time and stress. We provide lunch, water, and the conducive environment for refreshments for pensioners. We provide wheelchairs, standby ambulances, first aid for emergency situations. And the greatest innovation is our mobile verification for people who are infirm, ill, and disabled. PTAD goes to the homes of these pensioners. You can see that's another verification center. That's an ambulance. You can see PTAD pensioners eating at a verification. You can see their food. And that's a PTAD pensioner on the wheelchair. Next slide. This is our mobile verification. We've deployed teams to over 80 different cities, towns, and villages, and countless hospitals across the entire nation. Sometimes in very hazardous circumstances. You can see the first, go back on the slide. You can see the first photograph of a pensioner in the hospital being verified by PTAD staff. The second photograph is a pensioner in her home being verified by PTAD staff. Next slide. And you can see our pensioners wading through water and vegetation to verify our pensioners, just to make sure that our senior citizens who are eligible and qualified to receive pension are not only captured on our database, payrolled and paid their pension, but are also accorded the respect and dignity that they deserve. So pre-verification, PTAD inherited payroll of pensioners from the old pension offices. And pre-verification, we inherited 268,897 pensioners from the payrolls of the old pension offices. Through verification, we've been able to create a centralized database, which is complete with pensioners' personal information, biometrics, and career documents. This database is the first of its kind in the history of defined benefit pension in Nigeria. For the Police Pension Department, we actually inherited 18,370 pensioners. We were able to verify 16,514. We removed 3,757. These are people who are either not qualified or have not provided complete and adequate documents. We enrolled 2,525 because there were still people who were qualified for pension who had not been enrolled because of the inefficiency of the past. And currently, as at the October 2022 payroll, we have 15,437 pensioners on our payroll. For the Customs, Immigration, and Prisons Pension Department, we inherited 12,203, verified 12,338, removed 184, enrolled 935, and currently on our payroll, we have, as at October 2022, we have 11,380 pensioners. For the Civil Service Pension Department, we inherited 129,999 on the payroll. We verified 112,915. We removed 27,565. We enrolled 25,998. And currently, as at October 2022, we have 104,894 pensioners on the Civil Service Pension payroll. For the Parastatal Pension Department, we inherited 108,325 and verified 100,127 pensioners. We have removed 21,227, and we enrolled 11,460 pensioners, and currently on our payroll, we have 94,617 pensioners. So in summary, at inception, we inherited 268,897 pensioners, and currently on our payroll, we have 226,328 pensioners. Now, our payroll values are very dynamic. Apart from pensioners removed because they are not qualified to receive pension, we have, pension is for life. So as pensioners die, we remove them on a monthly basis from the payroll as we get the information. And because of the success of the defined benefit scheme under PTAD, we have a lot of pensioners who had hitherto abandoned their pension, and they are now coming forward. So we keep enrolling new pensioners. So it's a dynamic figure that we have on a monthly basis. Next slide. Now, what did we meet at inception at PTAD in terms of the management of the files and records of pensioners, their service records? Now look at the before. All those things you see in the second, they are all tattered pieces of paper. PTAD had to put all these papers together, get to the verification exercises, collect career documents and all of that. And this is what we have now. We have their documents well arranged and put together in a good storage system. And we have actually recently procured a mechanical storage system, which will give us easier access to the files. We'll be able to pull out a file with the snap of a button. So that is where we are now with pensioners' files from where we started. The big innovation for pension management is the automated computation and payroll management system. In the past, when pensions were manually computed, I can tell my friend I need 100,000 on top of my pension. And regardless of what my pension is, I get 100,000 on top of my pension. Or if I don't like somebody who used to work in the service and I'm the one doing the pension, I'll make sure that his pension is deducted by however much I want because it was manually done. But PTAD created an innovative benefits computation software which pulls information from the verification data to automate the calculation of pension benefits with minimum manual and human interference. So using the computation software, only pensionable components, which are the basic salary, housing, transport, utility, meal and entertainment, with approved salary structures and the pensioner's service years are used in the calculation. So once the pensioner's benefits are accurately computed, the variation is uploaded to the payroll. And the payroll management system helps with managing changes and updates the monthly pension payments. Like I told you, maybe removals, adjustment of pensions, and additions. Now, PTAD has an automated payment process. A lot of people have the misconception that maybe if they've not received their pension, it has entered into the account of one PTAD staff. Technology has made that impossible. What happens with PTAD is that before the 15th of every month, the departments prepare the pension payrolls and they're sent to the office of the executive secretary for approval. After the approval, the pension payroll is uploaded on the Government Integrated Financial Management Information System, which is the payment platform managed by the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. And it's important to say here that every pensioner has a unique identifier, which we call an employee code. And this employee code is generated from a verified pensioner. So no two pensioners have the same employee code. And the pension payments are finalized on the GIFMIS platform subject to cash backing from the Central Bank of Nigeria. And the pension payments are remitted from the CBN directly to the account of the pensioner. Nobody can come in between that movement. So our monthly pension payments as at October 2022, I've already told you, is always a dynamic figure. But as at October 2022, we paid a total of 226,328 pensioners, and the total amount paid was 9.1 billion. It is important to note that since January 2015 to December 2021, PTAD has paid a total of 610 billion in monthly pensions to our pensioners. Now, one of the things we pride ourselves as doing well is the fact that we have a robust complaints resolution system, which is modern and innovative, also responsive, attentive, pensioner-friendly, and result-oriented. And this has led to a reduction in the number of pensioners' complaints being received over the years. And to further support the automated complaints resolution process, PTAD has very active channels of engagement. We have our walk-in contact centers at the headquarters or any of our 11 state offices. You can write a letter to the executive secretary, but the pensioners don't only write a letter to the executive secretary, they call her even at 12 midnight. So they all have my number and they call. You can also call our call center or send an email. You can fill a complaint form on our website. And you can send a message on our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Next slide, please. So this is our walk-in contact center at the headquarters. So you can see some pensioners being attended to at our walk-in center. And this is our call center with PTAD staff taking calls from the pensioners. And you can see that they have their system in front of them. So some of the complaints are resolved immediately real time. When it is something that immediately they check the biometric database and they're able to tell you the status of either your complaint or whether your payment has been made real time. And if it is something that is to be escalated, they go ahead and do so, and we have a complaint tracking system. Next slide, please. Now, this slide shows you what has been happening over the years. We now have a decline in the number of complaints being received, and this is the greatest evidence that PTAD is working. We used to have a deluge of complaints. Have we stopped having complaints? No. But what we now have are pockets of complaints, and we keep saying that PTAD is work in progress. But in terms of achieving our mandate, I'll make bold to say we've gone to up to 90%. So this graph shows you what has been happening over the years in terms of the complaints we now receive in PTAD. Next slide. So our key successes. Through the unwavering support of President Muhammadu Buhari, who has been adjudged by pensioners as the most pensioner-friendly president in Nigeria. You can't convince them about that. They have actually written a letter, of which they copied me, to say they want to give him an award before he leaves as the most pensioner-friendly president in the history of Nigeria. They are even issuing threats that anybody who is coming in 2023 who is not going to treat them like President Buhari will be in trouble. And his administration has made pension an unwritten first-line charge. It must be stated here that in the 1979 Constitution, pension was a first-line charge. But when the Constitution was amended in 1999, it was removed as a first-line charge, yes. So President Muhammad Buhari has made it an unwritten first-line charge because we make sure that pensions are paid even before salaries. We also appreciate the able supervision of the Honorable Minister for Finance, Budget and National Planning, our regulator, PENCOM, PTAD's management team, and as a result of all of this, we've been able to achieve the following. The first thing is the full implementation of the Treasury single account, which has ensured the sanctity of pension funds and enshrined transparency in pension payments. Pension funds are no longer domiciled in commercial bank accounts. They are now with the TSA in the CBN. So that is a big plus in pension management. Regular monthly payments of pension without fail since inception, as and when due. And from January 2015 to December 2021, as I earlier said, we have paid a total of 610 billion in pensions to Nigerian Defined Benefit Scheme pensioners under PTAD. PTAD has also been able to pay long-standing arrears to pensioners across all the pension departments, and most significantly, the huge arrears inherited from the defunct privatized agencies. I'm going to talk about that. We also have regular engagement with pensioners and other stakeholders across all the 6 geopolitical zones to update the pensioners on our activities and to also engage them in what their constraints and complaints are. And this has been a very useful exercise to PTAD. Now, with the privatization, commercialization and privatization reform of 1999 to 2005, a lot of government enterprises were either privatized or completely liquidated. And post-privatization, the staff of these agencies were not provided for. They were left hanging, no benefits, no pension, nothing. But in 2017, President Muhammadu Buhari listen to the cries of these pensioners. A lot of them came with arrears of pensions or entitlements ranging from 84 months to 219 months. First of all, President Muhammadu Buhari instructed that we put them on the payroll. And we started paying a lot of them who their terms of engagement entailed payment of monthly pension. But there were some of them that, in terms of the terms of engagement, they were entitled to one-off payments. They still had not been paid, except for Aluminium Smelter Company, that 15% of the entitlement had been paid by the Bureau for Public Enterprises. But they still had 85% of their entitlement unpaid. So, between 2019 to date, we have completed the one-off payment for Nigerian Aviation Handling Company with 661 pensioners. We have completed the one-off payment for the Aluminium Smelter Company with 1,031 pensioners. We've completed the one-off payment for Savannah Sugar with 1,596 pensioners. We have completely liquidated the arrears of 92 months for 522 pensioners of the NNSL, that's a New Nigerian Shipping Line, Nigerian National Shipping Line. We have completed the 69 months arrears payment for Assurance Bank for 251 of them. We have completed the 126 months of arrears we inherited for Nigerian Reinsurance for 287 of them. We have completed the arrears of 219 months we inherited for New Nigerian Newspapers, 509 of them. We just last month completed the arrears of 100 months that we inherited for Nikon Insurance for 1,046 of them. We have also last month completed the 96 months inherited from Delta Steel Company. Now we only have NITEL MTEL as a defunct agency that we have not completed the inherited arrears. We inherited 84 months of arrears for NITEL MTEL. We have paid 21 months of that inherited arrears till date, and we are supposed to have a balance of 63 months. But I'm happy to announce that yesterday, we settled 15 months for 5,010 pensioners of NITEL MTEL. And in the next 1 or 2 weeks, we're going to do another 15 months for the balance of the 5,000 and so NITEL MTEL pensioners. And that would bring down the arrears for NITEL MTEL pensioners to 48 months. As we pay, it is getting lighter. We inherited arrears of over a long period of time. So it would look a bit insensitive to expect that government will be able to liquidate the arrears in one day. But when somebody is owing you, and the person accepts that they are owing you, that is one. And when the person has shown good faith by servicing that loan, you're almost there. So I will enjoin pensioners of NITEL MTEL to bear with us. Government is sensitive to your plight, and government is committed to liquidate the balance of the arrears. And so far, we have paid a total of 39 billion in arrears to the defunct privatized agencies. The next of kin of deceased pensioners have not been left behind in all the payments that we've been making. And so far, we have paid a total of 3,832 next of kin of deceased pensioners across the 4 operational departments, and to the tune of 7.1 billion. And it is a continuous process. But we do have challenges sometimes with payment of NOKs because of incomplete documentation. And we keep saying NOK payments are like money in the belly of the tiger. If you make a mistake and pay in that bulk money, to retrieve it is a problem. So we always go through a lot of due diligence when it comes to payment to next of kin of deceased pensioners. Next slide. The implementation of the consequential adjustment arising from the minimum wage increase of 2019. This particular consequential adjustment is novel in so many ways. The first is the fact that this consequential adjustment was not based on the way pension increments were done in the past. Pension increments in the past were done based on percentages. You had a 33% across board, 150% across board. But PTAD chaired the committee that looked into the consequential adjustment areas consideration. And we had looked at how things had gone. There are some pensioners whose pension is 100 and something thousand. You offer him a 33% increment. Then you have a pensioner whose pension is 500 naira. You offer him the same 33% increment. What are you doing? The rich gets richer, the poor gets poorer. Because the whole idea behind an increment is to handhold and pull up those people who are down, not to add to the people who are on top. So the pension increment that came on as a result of the consequential adjustment was based on absolute figures. Now, these absolute figures now pulled up pensioners to the extent that we now have what we can call a minimum pension. So there's no pensioner in the that is taken care of by PTAD that earns less than 8,638 naira 74 kobo, as against 500 naira that some people were earning in the past. But people will be wondering, why would a pensioner be earning 500 naira? You see, in the pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate, we have, especially the civil service pension, we have two groups of pensioners. Pensioners that are federal, pure federal pensioners, and pensioners we call state with federal share pensioners. Now, these state with federal share pensioners are pensioners who were employed by the regional governments or the states before 31st of March 1976. The federal government decided to take care of their share of pensions. So now, having said that, it means that if somebody was employed on the 1st of February 1976, the person is only entitled to 1 month of federal share. So the money is not going to be wonderful, because it means that the bulk of that person's pension is going to be paid by what? The state government. So that's why we had people with that kind of meager sums on our payroll. This particular pension increment has been adjudged the most impactful and the most equitable in the history of pension increments in Nigeria. And I think we should thank President Muhammadu Buhari for implementing this increment. The increment was approved in May of 2021. It took effect from April of 2019. So at that point, we had incurred 24 months arrears. But another novel thing about this pension increment is that we got the approval by May. By June, we had implemented. And before the end of 2019, we had literally finished servicing all the arrears. It has never happened in the history of pension increment in Nigeria. The 2010 33% increment, we finished paying it in 2019. It took how many years to pay? Other accrued inherited pension arrears. PTAD has cleared the 33% increment arrears of 2010 to all the operational departments. PTAD has also paid 1.1 billion pension arrears and gratuities to pardoned war-affected police officers and next of kin of deceased officers. You may recall that in May of 2000, President Obasanjo gave amnesty to the fought on the Biafran side, the policemen who fought on the Biafran side, and converted their dismissal to retirement. But we have been able to sort out the pension arrears and gratuities due to this group of pensioners. In 2020, because of the deluge of complaints we were getting from the civil service pensioners, we instituted a computation project to look at all the files that we got and all of that to take care of arrears that were owing pensioners. And we paid over 8.5 billion as arrears of pensions and gratuities to civil service pensioners and their next of kin. And that computation is still ongoing because we're going through our payroll from the beginning to the end to validate and find out who is being owed arrears and to settle that. Also, in 2021, the government approved a 9.7% increment for PHCN workers when they were agitating for their 33% increment. So that 33% increment was negotiated to 9.7%. And approval was given to us in 2021, and this approval was supposed to take effect from April of 2016. We have not only implemented that, but we have also paid the arrears of 6.9 billion that are accrued as a result of that approval. Now, I had mentioned defunct and privatized agencies. These agencies were managed by a pension board of trustees, and some of them had their funds with insurance underwriters. Now, post-privatization, nobody did anything to recover those funds. And government has been making all the payments concerning these pensioners from money generated and paid into the Consolidated Revenue Fund. But PTAD has been able to recover about 17.8 billion of these legacy pension assets from the Board of Trustees of underwriters of these treasury-funded parastatals, and we have been able to apply these funds to pay some outstanding inherited liabilities. We also, in 2021, got 26.5 million pounds of pension funds that had been was being managed by the Crown Agents Investment Managers Limited in the United Kingdom, and we also used that to defray pension liabilities in 2021 at a huge ceremony that the Minister of Finance presided over. Now, what has been PTAD's contribution to the national economy? The first and the most important is the regular payment of monthly pensions as and when due. Transparent and prudent settlement of inherited liabilities. The public outcry and complaints from pensioners has quietened over the years. If you hear a lot of pensioners shouting somewhere, they are not PTAD pensioners. You might see one or two or three, like I said, pockets. Have we solved all the problems of pensioners under the defined benefit scheme? No, we haven't. But have we substantially solved their problems? Yes, we have. So there is increased trust in the government's commitment to the welfare of pensioners and the ability of government to professionally administer pension payments. The economic livelihood and welfare of thousands of pensioners under the defined benefit scheme has improved, as thousands of pensioners hitherto dropped from the payroll or who had never received payment are now being enrolled and have a regular means of sustenance. Post-verification, thousands of irregular, ineligible beneficiaries have been dropped from the payroll, thereby reducing government liability. Pensioners have the assurance that they will no longer be required to come out for field verification exercises, which are very costly to administer. PTAD's contribution to the Sustainable Development Goals. I think we tick SDG 1 and SDG 3. We've lifted thousands of DBS pensioners out of poverty through the increase of the minimum pension from 500 to 8,638. That 8,000 really meant a lot to them, because when we went to some stakeholder engagement, some of them said to me, yes, we now buy chicken. And I said, thank President Muhammadu Buhari. Pensioners who still support their families from their monthly pensions play an economic role in improving the livelihood of their dependents. And PTAD holds the pension funds as sacrosanct, and the rights of pensioners are upheld as it pertains to the non-encumbrance of their pension benefits. We have also contributed in improving the welfare of pensioners by keying into the national health insurance for older persons. There is a committee that was set up, PTAD was part of that committee, to see how our pensioners and our senior citizens can access health insurance, because a lot of them use their pension money for purchase of drugs. And PTAD and pensioners are very expectant that the national health insurance will come on stream very soon. Now, what do we have in the future? Our future baby is the I Am Alive confirmation solution. You have seen the stress that pensioners had to go through for the field verification exercises. Pension is meant to be for life. And that is to say that if a pensioner is deceased, he's not supposed to continue to receive pension. So what do? Do we continue to bring them on the verification exercises to the field? However convenient we make the centers, however, whatever kind of services we provide, if we have a verification center in Kano and you have to come from Kaduna for the verification, it is a stress for the pensioner. It's money consuming for the pensioner. It also is a very huge expense for government. So PTAD decided to key in on technology. And we have launched the pilot phase of the I'm Alive confirmation solution. And this is a web-based solution that will enable a pensioner confirm his aliveness in the comfort of his home or in his environment using a smartphone or a computer system. So we have launched that initiative. We've done the pilot scheme of 50,000 pensioners, and that has successfully been concluded. And recently, we also concluded the training for pension union executives and pension desk officers to handhold these pensioners, because we realize that our pensioners are senior citizens. They mightn't be very used to the technology. And this particular technology is a very critical point in the life of a pensioner, because it determines whether you still live or die on the payroll. So we have to make sure that appropriate and adequate awareness is created to make sure that we don't have any eligible pensioner left behind. Very soon, we're going to roll out for the whole generation, for the whole federation, for all the defined benefit pensioners. This is what the exercise looks like. This is the one, the fingerprint verification exercise. We have two forms of the confirmation process. It's either you do a facial recognition or the fingerprint capture. And these are also, that they are now matched against the biometrics we had already collected at verification. So the I'm Alive verification process is only for PTAD pensioners who have been verified and are already on our database. Recently, the Bank of Industry retirees who retired under the defined benefit scheme have been added to our portfolio of pensioners, and we have taken it upon ourselves to do the usual, what we normally do at due diligence, to verify them prior to payrolling them. And I'm sure that very soon we'll start payrolling all of them, because we have done verification exercises in the north, and we did one in the southwest as well. Improving the welfare of our pensioners is of paramount importance to us, and I have mentioned the fact that we really desire to get these pensioners on stream with the health insurance so that they will stop spending their pensions on drugs. Also, we intend to have more coverage across the states. Recently, we opened state offices in Ibadan and Yola. we opened 2 new state offices. And we actually have 2 more new state offices in the offing because we've already been allocated accommodation for a state office in Ilorin, Kwara State, and for one in Akwa Ibom, in Uyo. So hopefully very soon we'll also be able to open state offices in those paying off of the balance of 56 billion. Now today is 48 billion. When I prepared this yesterday, it was still saying 58. So I'm glad to say that we've brought that figure down to 48 now for offsetting the NITEL-MTEL inherited arrears. We also have an estimated 61 billion outstanding for the payment of ex-PHCN and Nigerian Railway Corporation pensioners. But that has to go through a validation process, which is what we are going through at the moment, to be able to really ascertain how much these people are entitled to. Harmonization of pensions. Our pensioners have been complaining about the inequity in pensions. And let me give you an example. You see, your pension is calculated based on the salary structure that was operational at your point of retirement. So that is to say that over years, when salary structures change, you are still where you were. Nothing changes. And anybody who has retired after you on the same grade level and the same step, same number of years put in service, but with a different salary structure up at the point that this particular man retired, the parameters that were used, the salary structure used, were for him to get a pension of 100,000. So we are working on that harmonization with the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission. They have set up a committee to look into that, to harmonize pensions and bring equity in the pensions that our pensioners earn. And we're hoping that very soon we'll be able to get that to a conclusive stage. We also pray that we can start implementing the constitutional provision of 5-yearly pension increment, which for our pensioners, having collected one in 2019, is due in 2024. We also are looking at payment of next of kin, arrears to next of kin of deceased pensioners. It is a work in progress, and we're continuing with that. So, now in Nigeria, there's this saying, go and verify. So I have said all what I have said, and we've come to the stage of go and verify. So these are some testimonials that we have from the press. This one is from the Tribune of sometime in 2022. NUP, that's the Nigerian Union of Pensioners, showers encomium on PTAD. Vows to mobilize votes for pensioner-friendly presidential candidates. So you see, they've already put a name to it. Or your pensioners commend PTAD over credible database. Old pension with PTAD, most federal pensioners' woes are over. Will only vote for pension-friendly candidates, NUP. But the go and verify is not enough if you don't hear from our major stakeholders and our customers. So we have a 7-minute video to play for you, to listen to them, to hear what they have to say about what President Muhammadu Buhari has been able to do for the Nigerian pensioner. Thank you very much.
And I can never be one. However, President Muhammadu Buhari's regime has been the best so far. God and man. Let people say whatever they like about Buhari. I am not a politician, and I can never be one. However, President Muhammadu Buhari's regime has been the best so far as it concerns the lot of pensioners. Over the years, you heard of pensioners dropping dead while queuing for their entitlements. As soon as the man has said, maybe because he's an old man, I wouldn't know. He appreciates the lot of the pensioner. He sympathizes with their lot. The information we got was that he gave a matching order to his subordinates who are in charge of pensions. Pay them as and when due. Don't joke with their pensions. And they have been paying. We know we have challenges in this country. from what is reported to us. Twice, I remember, it's a 3% pension increase. We carried the backlog into Muhammad Buhari's regime. But that has been paid long ago. There was an adjustment thereafter. The consequential adjustment in pension increase, in pension entitlements of pensioners have all been paid off. While other establishments did not have the new adjustment, pension under PTAD, which is superintended by Dr. Chioma Ejikeme, made sure that, I don't know how she did it, maybe she went to kneel down before Mr. President. You asked us to be doing this thing well. So please give us money so that we can pay. Of course, she paid. When my union members asked me, what is happening? What miracle is this? Well, give glory to God first and foremost, and begin to praise Mr. President for doing well. They know I don't praise people unless they actually do well. But we must confess so that we won't sin against God and against humanity.
I am from the Northwest, where the president of this country comes from. I'm proud to be associated with that man because he's doing very well to the pensioners.
I think it's important for me to give testimony here on the able job done by the PTAD and President Muhammad Buhari on the fate of us Nigerian police officers who served in Biafra during the Civil War, who were dismissed at the end of the war because of their services, and who 30 years after their dismissal by presidential amnesty were retired, were recalled and retired honorably through radio announcement. But we want to give testimony that on assumption of office of the present Executive Secretary, Dr. Chioma, Ejikeme, she convened a special stakeholders conference only for retired war affected officers in Enugu at the beginning. Others have been placed on monthly pension and the arrears of pensions are being calculated.
We are so delighted in what they are doing. You will see the way we are hailing them by clapping for them. Otherwise, if they are not doing good, you know people in Nigeria, they will be hearing booming. They will be booming at them. But we have not ceased. That's what they are doing. And we just wish them they should continue. Our experience before PTAD took over in 2015, just like where I come from. Every organization by then has a board, and the money has to channel through that board. But the problem we are having is that a lot of the board will not disclose that the money has even come in. So they will let the pensioner fighting, struggle, where the money is getting some interest in the bank, just for a few of them to have something. And by the time the money is going to be paid, you discover some of the pensioners, they are on the best sick bed. So the little money they got, they use it to procure medicine, which is of no use for them.
In fact, without missing words, we have never, the pensioners, we've never had this so good like what you see. I'm not here, I'm not sacrificing even. I am saying this between God and man. So you have done it well, though not perfectly because it's not perfect man. But we know we are trying, there's still more room for improvement.
Regular, honestly. It's even better, far better than before. I'm enjoying it, particularly myself.
We thank the God for this program. As we can see, all pensioners are comfortable in this organization. As a matter of fact, since we come to PTAD from head of service, like our leader, the last speaker, said, we have enjoyed everything from PTAD, and we pray that God will continue to give you strength to do more for pensioners. As our leader has said, PTAD, you are now our doctor. Pensioners need special care, which you are doing, and we are grateful for you for your services. We thank the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria. I know our 33% was not paid until sometime this year. We said we were going on the street. The Executive Secretary of PTAD said, no, let me see the President. And in that week, that payment was approved. We thank you so much. There are so many things PTAD has done. We thank the President, the steel rolling mill, the airways, all their arrears have been paid. We thank you so much. Continue to partner with you as union that you are working for the benefit of pensioners. Thank you. Continue. My colleagues, if you agree with what I've said,
they wanted 3 busas for for Madam there. Let's see how many busas you'll be able to get at the end of this session. Now, as we ask our questions, let's get this clear. PTAD came into being in 2013. Then there is the Pension Reform Act of 2014. If you hear people say they retired last year, for 1 year, they have not got their salary, PTAD didn't cover that. There's another organization called National Pensions Commission, PENCOM. National Pension Commission covers that. So let that guide your questions, please. Ma, you've tried, but let's hear the opinion. Who's asking first? China television. What does China want to know about that? Viewers TV, Dockers, TVC, and is that FIFE? None. Okay.
Good morning, Madam ES. My name is Olatunji Saliu, and I report for China News Agency. First, I want to commend you for the good work you are doing at PTAD. My dad is a NITA pensioner, and he is always full of praises for you and to you and President Muhammadu Buhari for the good work you are doing. I can confirm to you that he has been receiving the monthly pension payment by PTAD since his verification in 2018. And this has never failed. Last night, he also received the 15 months arrears you paid to the NITA pensioners. However, I would like to know. I would like to know the fate of other eligible pensioners who have not been verified. There have been complaints by some NITEL, MTEL pensioners who claim they were not verified by PTAD. How do you intend to settle their pension payments?
I think funny enough, he's asked the question. That was going to be my question. Challenges with this verification, does it mean that they didn't work, or do you still have plans for them? So I guess it's in line with the same question.
All right. Thank you.
I'm here. All right, good morning, ma. Good morning, sirs. My name is Femi Akonde from TVC News. Yes, ma, you talked about the improvement in the whole pension scheme through PTAD. There's this tension, or pensioners are worried. I think earlier this year, an information came out from the federal government that they'll be taking loans from the pension fund to do some infrastructure development and all of that. How has this affected, or I don't know if it has started, or if indeed it has, how is it affecting payments to all of these parastatals under your jurisdiction? Thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is Chijoke Okoronkwa. I report for the News Agency of Nigeria. Now, within the period under review, how many ghost pensioners have been removed from the scheme? And in monetary terms, what does it translate?
People that we abuse them.
We have 4 questions. Madam will take the floor now.
Thank you very much. I will start with Mr. Olatunji of China News Agency. Let me say that, first of all, I'm glad to hear that your father has received his, your father must obviously be a NITEL-MTEL pensioner. And at least we have verified. This one is no longer the verification, and they know what the arrangements were, what the agreements were, and all of that. So PTAD on its own, we don't onboard pensioners on our own. If not, I guess everybody in Nigeria will probably be a PTAD pensioner. So there are actually rules and regulations that guide onboarding of pensioners. We have heard that cry, but so until the BPE sends us a list and says these are bona fide pensioners, we can't do anything about that. Dorcas from Viewers TV, that was the same question you wanted to ask. There was no other one, right? NITEL-MTEL, yes.
I remember recently, quite recently, maybe a few months back, in Berkete family, there was an issue with regard to verification process, and it was a question of that you did not verify me does not mean that I didn't work. So how are you solving that challenge?
Yeah, it must be, that's what I'm saying. It must be, we can't verify you without documents. You have to qualify to receive pension. And you might have legitimately worked, but there are also qualifying years. If you worked and you didn't work for up to 10 years, you're not qualified for pension. You know, so there's so many indices involved in accepting pensioners for verification. So until we know what the actual situation of the person you're talking about is, I won't be able to give you an appropriate answer. But suffice it to say that we have our headquarters, we have our contact center there, we have the office there, we do in-house verification exercises in our offices. If you have the appropriate documents and you are qualified and eligible for pension. So that is the situation. And maybe you are talking about the Savannah Sugar people, they are not qualified for pension. If this is the one you're talking about that went to Brekete. In fact, they ended up coming to us to apologize for giving the public wrong information. And they also went back to Brekete to apologize. You know, there's a whole lot of misconception concerning pension, and people are more likely to believe them than us. But we'll continue to try to change the narrative. Mr. Konde from TVC News, you were talking about loans from pension funds, and that is a PENCOM situation. We are 100% treasury funded. I keep saying the defined benefit scheme is the biggest parasite of government, and the contributory pension scheme is the only sustainable way forward for pension administration in Nigeria, because you find that in the course of your work, you're contributing towards your pension for when you retire. But for the defined benefit scheme, which is the old scheme, it is 100% treasury funded. So money is sourced from the consolidated revenue fund and budgetary provisions. So the issue of loans of pension funds does not apply to the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate. I hope you're satisfied with that answer. No, it's, do we have data of the boost and the financial? Yes. Yeah, this slide actually shows removals from the payroll from 2015 to 2020. Now, I must say that some of these removals were as a result of the fact that the pensioners either didn't show up for verification, or they showed up for verification and they are not qualified and they were removed, or they didn't have complete documentation. So over time, the dynamics of what you had seen here would have changed, because like in 2020, post parastatal pension verification, we removed about 21,000 pensioners from the payroll. And as a result, recently I think we have about 5,000 of them that have come back and they are eligible pensioners. Some of them are diaspora pensioners who were not available and around to come for verification. So our numbers are always dynamic, they're not really static. So I can't give you an actual amount that you're looking for now, but it's something that we can put together and give you. But whether we have been saving money for government, as a result, we have been, and we have the figures. Thank you.
Second batch. Where? Choji number 1. John Bosco, Tony Ejikeme, Dr. Leon, and Bolaji. Do I have 6? Oh, Juliana. And Juliana. Should I take this on? Just only one question online. Yes. Yeah, there's a Bezi on Ogenekwe that's been following you. I think you actually answered part of the question, but let me just say it as it is. He says, help my dad get his money because it's his sweat, but I don't want to inherit it or spend it. Please do the needful. He's an old NEPA, I've been a PHCN retiree. He quotes his number. I think you answered the question about PHCN, but maybe you may wish to clarify further for him. That's about the only question. Others are commending you. Yes.
Retiree. We don't know whether he's already on the payroll or whether it is his arrears that he's talking about. We are still validating the verification that we carried out for parastatal pensioners that ended in 2019. But we've onboarded most of the pensioners who are entitled to be on the payroll, and they have started receiving their pensions. But in terms of the inherited arrears for PHCN pensioners, I'd mentioned in my presentation that we are still working on it to be able to consolidate and know exactly how much each pensioner is entitled to, and then be able to program how the payment would be made. And we're going to be done with it very soon. But it would be good for us to specifically know what your father's issue is. And if you could get in touch with us, contact center, complaints, or send an email to complaints@ptad.gov.ng. That would help us to look at your specific complaint. because with the information you have given online, it is actually non-specific, and I mightn't be able to say anything concerning it categorically. So please, we would love to help Mazi Ebezi Ogenekwe get his entitlements. Try and get in touch with us, please.
One, Kehinde Yusuf, he says, Madam, I'm watching the EAs, I'm watching you, and you said you've paid all ex-Alscon staff, Aluminum Smelts Company. He says it's not true, he's disagreeing with you, because I and other staff are yet to collect our payoff. Please assist.
You see, with the Alscon situation, we have paid off based on information that we have. But we're still going to, because even over time, the BPE is still sending us updates on information they had not previously sent, and we're working on those cases. So you might be one of them. So it would be good for you to also get in touch with us, because the people that we're paying are people handed over to us by BPE who had been paid their 15% by BPE. And what PTAD is paying is the balance of 85%. So if, say, for instance, BPE has not paid you 15%, and BPE did not send anything concerning you to us, there's nothing we can do about it. But if you come to us, we'll look at your case and know whether we can advise you to go to BPE in the event that you were missed by some contraption, so that you'll be able to sort out your matter. Like I keep saying, these are just pockets of complaints. In terms of the bulk of Alscon retirees, we have paid them off. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Timothy Choji. I report for Voice of Nigeria. In your opening remarks, you informed us that PTAD came on board to take care of workers that did not migrate into the new Pension Reform Act of 2014. I just want to get a clarification. Does it mean that till date, PTAD has not been able to complete the payment or verification of this class of workers who were there in 2013?
I don't understand the question.
Yeah, can you make the question clearer?
From what you said in your opening remarks,
yes,
PTAD came into being in 2013 to take care of workers that did not migrate into the new Pension Reform Act of 2014.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay, I rest my case. Thank you.
No, let me. I think I better explain. Let me clarify. What I said, you're mixing up the contributory pension scheme with the Pension Reform Act. The Pension Reform Act embodies both the contributory pension scheme and the defined benefit scheme, which PTAD manages. And these are people who made no contributions and did not migrate to the contributory pension scheme. So we inherited them in 2013. They were being paid pensions by government prior to the Pension Reform Act. You understand that? So what we did was to inherit them and continue to pay their monthly pensions. But we inherited them, a lot of them with a lot of baggage, which are these arrears I have been talking about. And a lot of them were not on payroll. Some of them were removed from the payroll for reasons unknown to them. We onboarded them. Some of them said, I beg, we don't have energy for this pension wahala. The wahala is too much. People are dying, people are lying down. So they abandoned their pension. But recently, we are having people who had hitherto abandoned their pension coming forward to get verified and receive their pension. In fact, there's a retired professor that by the time we had paid him his arrears, he got about 30 million Yes, because he retired in 1980 something. And he said he didn't have energy for these people, the pension wahala. But we said we are PTAD. We are melody to pensioners. President Muhammad Buhari has given us the mandate to make sure that no eligible pensioner is left out of the payroll. And we're committed and determined to do that, and that's what we've been doing.
So next.
Yes, madam. My name is John Bosco Abakuru. I write for Vanguard. Federal government was gracious to incorporate police officers that fought on the side of Biafra for them to receive pension. I want to find out how many of them are enrolled. Then, is it only police officers? What happened to soldiers that fought on the side of Biafra? How many of them also benefit from this pension? Thank you.
Should I take it or get more questions? Three.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Tony Ailemen. As you were delivering your scorecard, somebody sent me a kind of inquiry that I should present it before you. It said her pension was stopped in October 2020. She was paid in September, the last pension. And she's presently not in Nigeria. So how is she going to, what led to the stoppage, and how can she be covered or returned back? Thank you.
Okay. Yes,
Thank you. Madam, my name is Dr. Leon. I'm from the Nigerian Tribune. You said you made 2 recoveries of legacy funds. One is 17.85 billion, and the other one a repatriation of 26.5 million pounds. I want a bit of clarification on this. Who had this money? Who are these characters? How did they get the money? And how did you recover them? Thank you.
Good morning, ma. My name is Bolaji Ogundele, and I write for the Nation newspaper.
For which newspaper? The Nation. Okay.
Yeah. You've spoken so well of what you have done so far, as in what PTAD has been doing. Yeah, my concern, or what I want to know, is if there is any interface between PTAD and the Military Pensions Board. If there is, I want to know whether you have started replicating the kind of successes in PTAD there. If not yet, is there a plan to replicate it on the military side? Thank you.
Okay. Okay, last one. Okay.
Good morning, ma. My name is Juliana Taiwo Baloyen of the Sun newspapers. I want to know what are the foreseeable challenges of this verification tool, and how do you intend to approach them? And then recently there was glitches with this JevMe's platform, which caused pension payment delay. How do you intend to resolve it in order not to have a repeat in future? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. John Bosco from Vanguard, you were asking about the police pensioners. How many have we been able to enroll and bring on board? Yeah, that's, well, we call them war affected. We don't, yeah, but they are policemen who served on the Biafran side during the Civil War. Currently, we have 303 of them on our payroll. 303, currently. Yes, you were asking about soldiers. The soldiers, they belong to the military pension. So if there's any such arrangement, it will be handled by the Military Pensions Board, not by Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate. We don't take care of soldiers. We only take care of the paramilitary and the police. That's the customs, immigration, and correctional services pensioners, and the police. There is a Military Pensions Board that takes care of soldiers. So they might be in a better position to give you the answer to what you're looking for. Mr. Tony of Business Day, you were talking about a relation who stopped getting her pension in October of 2020. And from what you're saying, she's a diaspora pensioner. That's what we call them. Now, she's part of what we call October 2020 dropped. Post-verification, we dropped all those pensioners who didn't show up for verification. Because if you didn't show up, we assume that you are not our pensioner. But we found out that there are quite a number of diaspora pensioners. You know, a lot of these senior citizens, their children have taken them out of the country, and that's where they reside. We have not been able to get around to do the diaspora verification, but it's something that we're working on. But suffice it to say that if we have not verified you, it's a problem. But if she's a bona fide pensioner and her career documents are complete and correct, we normally demand for what we call an aliveness certificate from the embassy of whichever country, the Nigerian embassy of whichever country she resides. So if she goes there, they will take a photograph of her and give her what we call an aliveness certificate. But we need also a BVN certificate. We need to know that she has an account with a commercial bank that is a personal account, it's not a joint account. So there's so many things involved. So, but I will advise that she also gets in touch with us, and we'll look into her situation and know how we can help. But the best thing is if she comes into Nigeria, she should just drop into the office, get verified, and all her woes will be over. So that's, yes, Dr. Leal of Tribune talked about the recoveries. That is, where did we recover them from, and how did they get to where they got to? The 17.85 billion, you know, I had explained that prior to the establishment of the Pension Transitional Arrangement Directorate and the pension reform, these treasury-funded parastatals, their pensions were managed by some boards of trustees, and funds were kept with insurance underwriters. So post-verification, post-pension reform, the Pension Reform Act requested that all those funds should be transferred to PTAD for the settlement of liabilities of pensions. And that's where the 17.85 billion is coming from. It's coming from pension funds that had previously been invested by government. Like I told you, this was 100% treasury funded, and government was making payments to these insurance underwriters or the Pension Board of Trustees for payment of pensions to these pensioners. And in those days, the Pension Board of Trustees used to pay these pensioners. You heard one of the testimonials. He was talking about how when it is time to pay pension, those BOT people will not pay, that they will keep the money in the bank. If you had listened, you would have heard that. So that's one of them. Now, the one from the UK, I wouldn't want to call it recovered as if the people kept it and didn't want to bring it back. It was repatriated funds. Now, government had also invested these funds with the Crown agents investment management company in the United Kingdom. And they consisted of funds that, in fact, part of it were civil service funds that were used to pay the colonial pensioners who had gone back to the UK. I had mentioned that these were the first group of pensioners that Nigeria started paying pensions to. So part of the funds, and it turned out that all those colonial pensioners are now deceased. So the funds that were left, and then another investment made by the pension funds of the Cocoa Research Institute. So those two funds put together, what we did was ask them to repatriate the funds to us because we need the money to pay pensioners here. And it was repatriated with the investment interest and everything brought back to Nigeria for use to pay pensioners. £26.5 million. Yes. Bolaji of the Nation, if there's any difference, if there's any interface between PTAD and the military pensions, we are just brother and sister. We do the same thing, them for the military, us for the civilian public servants who retired under the defined benefit scheme. The only interface we have with them, if any, is the fact that, one, we take care of the people who retired from the NDA, Nigerian Defense Academy. We take care of their civilian staff. And we also have some people who had gone through the military before they got to the police. So sometimes when we need clarifications as to their service history and all of that, we relate to them. But there's no other kind of interface between us and them. And Madam Juliana of Sun Newspapers, you were asking whether there's any foreseeable challenge for our life. Certainly, it's a new technology. We don't want to tell you that we think it's going to be completely hitch-free. And that's why we embarked on a pilot scheme to test the technology first of all, before we decide to roll it out for all the pensioners. And that is also why we have taken time to invite pension union executives and pension desk officers of the agencies that had managed these pensioners in the past to train them on how to use this solution. And we have named them focal persons. And what they're supposed to do is to handhold our pensioners. In the event that they cannot do this thing themselves, they will be able to help them do it. And in the event that there are any hitches, I mean, this is technology, anything can happen. As focal persons, they have direct access to us. So we'll now be able to solve whatever problem that might come as a result. We're very, very conscious of the fact that we have a lot of our pensioners in the villages where maybe there wouldn't be internet access and all of that. And that's why we have done this. What we're saying is, even if there's no internet access in your village, maybe if you move 1 kilometer or so outside of your village, you might be able to get yourself confirm your aliveness. And that is still better than having to travel a long distance for a field verification exercise. You also talked about the glitches we had with GIFMIS. Yes, like any technology, even you, the press, sometimes you say we're having problems with our whatever, bear with us. So that's the same thing. Yes, breaking transmission. So that was just what happened, and we're on top of the situation. We have liaised with GIFMIS and the Office of the Accountant General, and we're trying our very best to make sure that payments don't fail, and even when they do, that immediately we get them resolved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, we are done. Any other question you can ask her as she walks along after this event. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Chioma Ejikeme. It's been very enlightening, particularly for some of us who are joining the ranks of pensioners soon. So I just want to, on behalf of the Presidential Communication Team, say thank you to you and your team. This, I say again, has been quite enlightening. So thank you, Executive Secretary, and I hope you do more of this. For those of us who manage the President's public relations and media image, these are the kind of things we want to see more. So let your people interface with us and let's do it together. I also want to thank Mr. Sheleng Suleiman, Director, Civil Service Pension Department. Is he here? Thank you. Thank you for coming. Mr. Abdullah Abubakar, Director, Customs, Immigration and Pensions, Prisons Pension Department. Thank you. Mrs. Neka Obiamalu, Director, Pensioner Support Services Department. Welcome. We also have here Mr. Ifeanyi Odionu, Deputy Director, Finance and Accounts. That's the man to know. Mrs. Christina Adebote, Deputy Director, Police Pension Department. Thank you. Welcome. Mr. Abubakar Umar, Assistant Director, Parastatus Pension Department. Welcome. Mrs. Uhoma Ikemba Efugi, Special Assistant to the ES. Welcome, ma'am. This is our own, Mr. Olugbenga Ajayi, Head Corporate Communications Unit. Thank you. Mrs. Ada Phil Ugochukwu, Policy and Strategy Unit. Welcome. Also another of our own, Ms. Harriet Agbenyi, Communications Unit. Welcome. And then Ms. Neka Aniago is the Protocol Officer. Welcome. We want to thank all of you for coming, and we hope when we do invite you again, you will oblige us. Thank you very much. Thank you. I also want to thank all members of the Presidential Communication Team. Our own First Lady is okay. Okay, Modi, who does this, who makes it happen week after week. Thank you for your good work. Thank you for my colleague, Malam Garba Shehu. Then we have Biodun Olatunjoye, Director of the Media Department. We have other people. I've seen Deji. I've seen Uche. Uche Adive is also of the Strategic Communication Team. Any other member of PCT that have left out? Who? Okay, okay. Every other member. Oh, and also our members who are online, who are managing the streaming. Thank you very much. I also want to thank all members of the State House Press Corps. Week after week we do this. You join us to do it. In fact, without you, how would we have done it? We thank you. This is the 58th edition. Very significant. We have done this for 58 weeks, and you have made it happen week after week. We thank you very much. When we watch that video, okay. Yes, well, I've just been told that when we do the 60th edition, we will drink tea. And shishi. Okay, the shishi is noted. When we watch the video, somebody asked for 3 gosas for the ES and the PTAD. We had only 1. So let's kindly give the other 2. Bosa! Bosa! Thank you. Thank you very much. You're welcome. We'll take a group photograph. Madam, give me, write a number. I'll send you a text. Okay. Yes, I'll send you a text.
No problem. Thank you.